Our top story tonight. The parents of a 2-day-old baby who died in a Sussex hospital meet the Health Secretary to demand action over maternity services.
My daughter should be nearly 3 years old and she is missing from our lives every day.
Welcome to the programme. I'm Natalie Graham. First tonight, the parents of a 2-day-old girl who died in hospital after an emergency C-section are meeting the Health Secretary next month to ask for a public inquiry into maternity services. Kate Fowler's daughter Abigail was one of 9 babies to die at the University Hospital's Sussex NHS Trust between 2021 and 2023 as a result of failings in their care. Kate has already written to Wes Streeting but says his initial response was insulting and she'd like actions, not words, from the government. Kate's been speaking to Peter Whittlesey.
This is completely irrelevant.
Katie Fowler and her husband Rob wrote an emotional letter to the Health Secretary highlighting how their daughter Abigail died just 48 hours after she was born because of failings at the Royal Sussex County Hospital. Katie said she expected a considered response because she was calling for a public inquiry. Instead, she says she received an email that seemed to have been cut and pasted together and addressed none of the key issues.
It feels like Abigail's life is being devalued, is how it feels at its core. My daughter should be nearly 3 years old and she is missing from our lives every day. And to have a response that barely acknowledges that is really hurtful, particularly from the Health Secretary's office, when we know that he himself has spoken often about maternity care and how worried he is about it.
To add insult to injury, Katie's email came after a review of 131 maternity units by the Care Quality Commission. It rated 48% of them poor or inadequate, and Wes Streeting pledged to make changes.
It is one of the biggest issues that keeps me awake at night, worrying about the quality of care being delivered today and the risk of disaster greeting women in labour tomorrow.
Since Katie complained about the email, she's been granted a meeting with Wes Streeting next month.
And why do you think you've been given this hour meeting with the Health Secretary?
I'd like to think it's because he is genuinely concerned about maternity care and he recognises that he needs to speak with bereaved parents and people that have suffered as a result of poor maternity care in order to understand how to fix it. I think it's really important that he does engage with bereaved parents, and so I'm glad that we've been given the opportunity and I hope it proves to be valuable to us.
Valuable to Katie means a public inquiry for her and 8 other families who lost babies at the Royal Sussex County Hospital. Peter Whittlesey, BBC South East Today, Hove.
Let's talk to our health correspondent Mark, who's outside the Royal Sussex County Hospital this evening. Mark, it is a really awful story. In fact, Abigail's father, Robert, still finds it very difficult to talk about what happened. But sadly, as we've just heard in Peter's report, their case they're not alone.
No, and they want this national public inquiry, but they also have issues with the maternity department at the hospital trust behind me. And as you heard in Peter's report, talking to other families who believe these are not separate tragedies, that they're all somehow linked. Now, I've spoken again to the trust today, who once again repeat their condolences. But I think it's fair to point out this trust is has one of the better performing maternity departments. They've employed more staff, in particular more midwives, and they have taken on new triage systems specifically since the death of baby Abigail, Natalie.
But Mark, there are wider issues nonetheless, aren't there, with maternity services across the NHS?
Yes, and we'll all remember the problems at East Kent, that big report by Dr. Bill Kirkup that recorded 45 babies may have survived if there'd been better care. And one of his key findings was that families were being ignored. And I think many families here feel the same thing is happening across this trust. And then Peter mentioned the Care Quality Commission, the hospital inspectors, who said that they find that harm is at risk of becoming normalised. So yes, bigger issues, but at its heart, Natalie, are families whose lives are torn apart when they lose a baby in this way. To be honest, they never truly recover.
Of course. Mark in Brighton, thank you.